So we had an interesting meeting yesterday out in the front lawn in front of this log cabin. Janice, you want to tell us about it?
Well, we went out to Mount Folly Farm to meet with Laura Freeman. So, how did this occur and what's the connection? I was in one of our Kentucky chocolate stores buying some bourbon balls to send with our daughter abroad, and I noticed something interesting. It was dark chocolate with CBD oil, cannabis oil. And I've seen these kiosks around town in the mall, standalone in strip shopping centers, and I've never thought to try any of it. Have never read about the benefits of CBD oil. But what drew my attention to this particular market was the name, Laura's Lean.
Wait a minute. CBD oil? That's like marijuana, right?
Well, it is different. It's made from hemp, but the main ingredient in marijuana, THC, is 0.3% or lower in CBD oil. So it's fairly non active with the marijuana element.
So hemp actually used to be a big product here in Kentucky. In fact, I think it was the biggest for a long time until tobacco took over. But hemp wasn't being used for CBD oil at that time, was it?
It was used for rope as it was in
Right.
most places across the world. There are hemp plantations all over the world that there are now relics. Um, but the hemp crop was replaced with cattle, and that's where Laura's lean beef comes into it.
Yeah, I recognize that name from the past. Back when I used to try to stay on a low fat diet, didn't eat a lot of meat. When I did eat meat, it was Laura's Lean. I had no idea that her farm was, what, an hour away from here.
Right. So what drew me to this dark chocolate with CBD oil, and I've heard people talk about the effects of it for pain, arthritis, um, in different exercise classes I'm in, but her name is what drew me because I knew Laura's lean beef. I knew she used a scientific process with her beef. As a matter of fact, she was one of the early no antibiotic beef.
Yeah.
And even though that was not a great marketing name back in the mid 80s, her beef was also organic grass fed, so it was low fat. So she went with the name Laura's Lean Beef. And it ended up in 47 states. And when she sold it in 2008, when she sold the beef business, it was 151 million. So that says something about her in terms of business processes, but she also has a strong scientific component to both the beef business and now with the CBD, which brings us to today.
Yeah, this is sounding a lot like the baby boomer generation. Hemp oil, CBD oil, marijuana, dark chocolate truffles, making a whole bunch of money off of environmental things, low antibiotic foods. So, but what has that got to do with this channel, though? Other than this channel is really big for baby boomers.
Well, okay, so she came back 5 years ago and she took her land and created a hemp crop with the intention of developing CBD oil from the crop. And what it means for our population, we have many patients with autoimmune disorders, stress and anxiety, sleep disorders, and just pain from osteoarthritis or from injuries from falls. And so that intrigued me. And when you go to Laura's website, you immediately find things, articles about pain. She has a blog by a neurologist, I believe. And so, just with her scientific background, her business acumen, if I was going to try CBD oil, this was going to be my choice of producer.
So I see dog treats here. What is it? Does it get your dog high or what?
Well, as I said earlier, none of these CBD oil products get anyone high. They are 0.3% or less of the THC, the major component in marijuana, that does have a psychoactive compound or effect. So that is null.
It is. It's supposed to be helpful for anxiety, for sleep, and for inflammation. Now, is that real? I think the jury's still out. I think there's clearly evidence that some of that works, but I have to go back to one of my first major concerns when I see all this. Is it legal? Now, just a couple of things. Both the science behind this and the legal side are still somewhat murky, but moving fast. The president signed into the Farm Bill back in 2018 something about it's legal, I think, for farmers to grow this. And again, this is hemp. It's not marijuana. They are related crops, but not the same. In fact, what I've heard from someone who is familiar with this, that growing a hemp crop near a marijuana crop tends to greatly decrease the quality of the marijuana crop. I'll tell you this also, if I sound like a skeptic and somebody who's not quite there yet, it's because I am. I never even liked marijuana back when I was a kid. I guess that's admitting that I have tried it once. I did. Actually, so I have to tell this story if you don't mind. At one of our spring events, the big yearly party in med school, somebody slipped some marijuana in some brownies. And at that time, I was still, my whole life, I've been a big sweets fanatic. I was eating a lot of sweets. I ate way too many, and then found out the hard way that they were laced with marijuana. So the experiences I had with it were just not that good. Anyway, back to legalities. At the same time that the president signed this stuff into the Farm Bill, the FDA sent out a notice to all the states saying this still was not legal. Now, what does that mean at this point? Again, it has continued to move very quickly, and as you can see, these folks are selling it. Other folks are selling it. Even Kroger grocery stores are selling CBD products. There's still a little bit of murkiness around what you can take by mouth versus what you use for just rubbing on your skin. It's supposed to be anti-inflammatory if you rub it on the skin as well.
Can you go back to the human products in case somebody tunes in late and thinks we're selling dog or interested in dog products for dogs? So basically, the the oil, that full spectrum hemp extract in that bottle, it's 1 fluid ounces. And the recommendation, and Laura experimented with this herself because she has had multiple injuries, really bad injuries. And she tried nasal spray for a while, and then she increased her dosage to 25 milligrams and had a big effect. So her recommendation is, with this dropper one, is to take 25 milligrams of CBD by filling that to the 1.0 milliliter line, which means a 1 ounce bottle lasts 30 days. And she also recommends putting it under the tongue and leaving it there as long as you can to get the effect. So that's just something about administration. And then it's also, now there is a difference. Some of her chocolates are hemp and some are CBD oil. This one is hemp. So that is not the CBD oil.
So I thought those were related. Doesn't CBD come from hemp?
It does.
Okay.
But she has different products, and some say CBD oil and some say hemp.
So have you heard of Charlotte's Web?
The book?
No.
That's yeah.
That's
the lotion.
The dominant player out there. Speaking of dominant players, there's also evidently a very well-funded large corporate group. What's the name here in Kentucky now? focusing on CBD. What's the name of that?
Gen Can. They actually
Gen
sponsored
Can.
the Kentucky State Fair, and we have not really looked into their business yet, but I think it's genetically created CBD.
So again, anything else on this?
No, so we're looking into this. We want to, read more literature, scientific literature, which Ford may present at a later date about the effects. That is all I have to say.
And for me, it was just a fun day. It's a fun project taking a look at this, and it was a fun meeting with Laura. I did respect her business acumen, and actually, like Janice, I felt like, you know what, she is not. Laura did have to break a lot of molds. She broke into the cattle industry at a time when it was all good old boys with Texas hats, and she showed a lot of grit. She showed a lot of improvement in the industry itself as well, in terms of things like antibiotics. Antibiotics in agriculture is a big destructive issue for medicine, because a lot of it's the same antibiotics. So again, yes, I do have a lot of respect there. As far as the legalities, whether or not we will start offering it, or whether or not I would even recommend it, I think that still remains to be seen. What I've seen so far is positive in terms of the science, but again, very inconclusive. So if you've made it this far, thank you for your interest.
Thank you.